Got some audio?
All right, I think we are live right now, guys. And if you can hear me, give me a thumbs up in the comments. Is this off the same link?
I believe so. We got 7 people watching, 8 thumbs up, 9 people watching.
All right. It's not showing up on my phone. We'll kind of cut the beginning of this.
Okay.
For the viewers of later. All right, Matt R.A. says we're good to go. And I appreciate you, Matt. Thank you very much. All right, so I am here today with Cori of Black Raven Meditation. And the way we met was in the YouTube comments, which is one of my favorite places to hang out. And talking to you in the comments, I clicked on your page and saw that you had a YouTube channel, which you should all check out. And then I was also pleasant to find out that you have you are a metaphysicist, which is sparked my attention. You know, I wanted to know all about that. And then we were talking on the phone about going live, and you said you travel, and I was like, okay, get your ass up here then, and let's just do this here in the living room. So to kick us off, can you tell us about the goal of Black Raven Meditation?
So Black Raven Meditation was developed after working as a clinician in institutions, specifically in mental health and recovery. I've always had a natural...
You're in the right spot then.
Yeah. I've always had a like many of us, right, a natural intuition. And as I started working in those dynamics, I found that it was almost hindering to the healing process of a lot of people because the small things that they needed were kind of left out for the bigger programs, right?
Yes.
So through that experience, I just kind of was like, you know what, I have this intuitive thing that I've developed, right? And I have this background in clinical work. So let's see what we could do.
I've been to therapists before, which is no surprise, but talking to you makes the psychological therapy process seem cold and distant, where you have a more metaphysics behind the name. And it seems to really softly get to the heart of what a person's struggles are versus the psychology world is kind of this, let's figure out what defects we can. They focus on defects, and they focus on this and that. Meanwhile, there might be an issue with the soul, and psyche and soul really kind of two words for the same thing in a way, right?
I think that's a really powerful point, really, right? It's because, and this is just my understanding, right? So, just even through the process of soul contracts and being born, right? There's that disconnection, almost that soul and psyche, like you were talking about, right?
Yeah.
So, for me, it's about allowing people the space to bring themselves back into the remembering, not me to do it, right? I'm not a healer. I'm nothing. I am a guide, right?
That is a huge statement for anybody in your position to say, and that's extremely comforting. Because that shows that there's no hubris leading the way, that you believe in the person healing themselves. You just got to show them how to open the door.
Yeah, we empowering people in their process, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think it's necessarily like an intention that's put out. And if other people think it is, that's fine. But I personally don't think it's necessarily an intention. And also systematically, where our power is taken away, right? Even when we go to the hospital, your doctor heals you, right?
Right.
Someone else is healing you, right? So it takes away all of our power. And then as we, a lot of us transition into the holistic field, we have a tendency to go to practitioners who are like, I'm going to heal you, right? And so
they get all the credit.
It's it's not necessarily even about credit. It's just about, for me, creating Black Raven Meditation was just about empowering you in your process, whatever that looked like, right? It doesn't matter why you're here, but you're here. So where's the gems? How can we polish them? And how can we get you popping with a little more grace and ease?
I love the gem metaphor because you had told me earlier today that no matter how catastrophic any situation is, find the gem in there and then polish the shit out of it, that's a perfect way to put it, because people, whenever there's something wrong, always focus on everything that's wrong, which is, I guess, necessary to a certain extent. But until you find the gem, you're just beating around the bush, And about giving the doctors, the doctor's going to heal you, or the shaman's going to heal you. And it resonates with what you told me while we were hanging out today, which was I myself tend to give credit to the messenger versus to God. or whatever somebody might call that. And it made me realize about that, something about my own synchronicities. Because whenever I have synchronicities, I tend to pinpoint it to that physical thing in the world that causes synchronicity. And you're like, no, honey, no, it's up here.
Yeah, it's up there. Right, because and yes, right, in the spirit world we get messages. We get it depending on your gifts or your availability to those gifts. You could get all the clairs, right?
Right.
And also sometimes our thoughts get in the way, our ego gets in the way, or what we want as a human in the situation.
Yes.
And there's nothing wrong with that. So what I feel happens though, whenever I start not listening to those internal things, is a human, the hands of God will come through and will create a situation that I'm like, oh, right? Yeah. And it's like, oh, I knew it was sitting right there, right? When I was in my own way, thank you. And I just keep it popping. And a lot of times that person almost never comes through as a psychic or someone you've done this with, right? It's someone that like randomly says the thing to you at the gas station,
right?
But when you're open to hear the message, no matter how it comes to you, you can receive the message,
right? That it reminds me that a lot of people, whenever they pray, especially when there's a situation involved, they'll often pray to God for a sign, and it's like, no. Why you need to pray to be able to see the signs that are dumping from the sky 24/7. They're always there. That's what I learned about getting a sign from God or synchronicities, is that they pray for a sign. It's constant. The signs are constantly happening. You should pray to be able to recognize them easier. And once you do that, and then open your eyes, and then don't get the messenger confused, because some people, I can imagine, would think somebody is psychic because they came through with what God was sent them to do. Yes. No, they were a tool. Yes. Well, I mean, tools.
Yes.
You know what
tools.
I mean?
Hands are tools. Yes, that's fine. That's a fine word.
And to be used by God is privilege.
It's a privilege.
By all means,
Yes.
And the word God, I think, shakes people up a little bit.
Yes, I do too.
But I think, how would okay, let's say there's somebody, this is what I encounter with a lot of people, is they've grown up Catholic or they've grown up Christian, and they're just done with all this God stuff. They don't want to hear the word anymore. And so they're going to turn around and neglect what is self-evident within themselves. I think creating a hollow space.
So if you want to try a really quick exercise, and anyone watching this can do this too.
Yes,
and
interaction.
We'll just do a really quick thing, and then we're just going to kind of explore that concept as we feel it. So anyone watching, please feel free to do it. You don't have to sit any particular way. I just want you to just kind of put your feet on the ground and just very, very, very gently close your eyes, right?
Oh shit, I'm late.
You're fine.
All right.
And I just want you to picture a sphere about 3 inches above your head. It doesn't have to be exact. Just picture a sphere there. And I want you to breathe in deeply to that sphere, just adding all the energy into it. When you exhale, I just want you to drop that sphere down through your head, your third eye, your throat, that heart, your ribs, belly button, root, and out your feet. Just go ahead and let it go out your feet, knowing that everything we release, the universe always brings back to us, right? 3 inches above our head. We're going to fill that up with brand new energy. And now when you drop it, I want you to drop it and just put it in your heart and say, God resides here. And I just want you to let your body go. And we're going to breathe one more time, about 3 inches above our head. That way we know what we're doing. And exhale, drop it down into the heart. God resides here. And just let that body go. So how did that feel? Let's talk about that real quick.
It's very nice. And it reminds me of earlier how I didn't want to, you come out of it, and it's almost like you don't want to come out of it. You just want to kind of sit there. And that's what I get with like meditation a lot. It's like people struggle with sitting with meditation. I struggle with stopping because they got to come back to the real world, I guess, but I try to take the meditation with me whenever I get up. But that breath that you mentioned, I remember when we were talking on the phone, breathing exercises, and you had mentioned, utilizing more than 1/3 of the lung capacity on a regular basis.
Yes.
You had said, I was kind of stressed even, and you were like, well, take a deep breath. And then I was like, oh, that's right. You know what? I do need to get back to my breathing meditations or breathing exercises. And you were like, no, not the future. Right now.
Right now, breathe.
Take the, I did. I was on the phone with you. I was like, and I just, and then right away, and then you were like, there you go.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, that is better.
Yeah.
It really is better. We can make ourselves better right now.
Yes.
And that's confusing to people because we're taught that everything's going to one day, tomorrow, this weekend, if I can get through the week, you know, I'm going to get to my breathing exercises, or I'm going to get to my yoga and everything. It's like, no, the moment you have that thought that there is something wrong, stop. Just.
And let God be here, right?
Right.
Right, because in the process I guide people through. We always say, come to your heart first, go to your head, then your hands, right, and then you watch the feedback. You're receptive to what happens, right? You're the feedback. It comes back to your eyes, drop to the heart, to the head, to the hands.
Yes.
Feedback, heart, head, hands, super easy, right?
Yeah.
But as we talk about that, and I'm going to kind of backtrack a little bit to the God thing because I really want to hit this because I watch your channel too, and that is something that kind of reoccurs I would like to hit on a little bit. I myself was brought up Roman Catholic.
I see.
That is my I did all the things. I was so involved, not because anyone made me. I've always had a calling towards stuff. Yeah, spirit, just spirit. And as I got older, and especially as I started working on my own process, I started working more into alchemy and metaphysical work, and I started to see a lot of symbols and a lot of understandings that was also in the Bible that I studied, that I knew all these scriptures and all these things about, right?
Yeah.
And as I developed through the metaphysical process, what I started understanding for me, and this is just an understanding that I offer to people because I work with a lot of people who have religious trauma.
Yeah.
That bubble that teaches you, it's not out here. It's not up there. It's in here.
Beautiful.
Right? It's right
necessary.
Here. And yes. So it's nothing outside of ourselves. It's always sitting in our heart if we're willing to breathe into it, right?
Yeah.
But as we come into that, earth and heaven. We talk about earth and heaven all the time in the Bible, right?
Yeah.
Well, what does earth really mean?
I suppose they always make it out to be separate from heaven and below heaven.
Right. So if we're going to think about that dynamic when it comes to micros and macro, right?
Yeah.
So if we bring that in, earth, right, is this material form.
Okay.
And I actually like to even put it in the heart. It's right here in the heart.
Sure.
It's this material form, this dense enough material form that presents here as an energy form.
So,
and then when we start to think of heaven, right?
Yeah.
Why do you think we do the 3 inches above our head?
Right. It's up there.
It's heaven, right?
Yeah,
That's our higher self.
Earth is the center, green. And that's funny that you said that because in Egyptian cosmology, Earth is the heart chakra of a larger body.
Yes.
And that makes sense if you think about where did the axiom come from of either going up or down, depending on how you spend time in here. And then that reminds me directly of Anubis or Anubis. I'll do it again, guys.
It's okay, no, it's perfect.
But because he weighs your heart, and that happens to be in the heart chakra, the green earth right there in the middle, because the heart chakra is green. Yes. It's like it's almost as if as above, so below is literal.
It is literal, yes.
See, that's amazing.
Yes, it is amazing. And we could even take that concept a little bit further, right? All the stars in the cosmos. What do you think they might resemble in your body if you were to think about what a star was in your body?
Molecules?
Cells, right?
Cells,
yeah.
Right. Okay.
What could those cells, if each one of those cells represents a star and something in you, what else might it represent between there?
Oh, man. I want to say like the blood, or the water within us.
Yeah, I mean, yes, not in the exact words as I would use. That's a more metaphysical thing, but humans, right? Other humans.
Oh, other people.
So it's like if we really want to think about all the cells in our body, it's each a little human.
Right.
So it's literally like a taking in. You were talking about as above, so below. This is how we take in the cosmos, right?
Yes.
This is metaphysical counseling. This is what I do. We take in the cosmos. We don't put it out there. We don't do things out there with it. We bring it in, right?
Right.
You know, all the planets are related to certain aspects of our body.
Right.
Right.
Even the most stark skeptic has to admit that we came from that. They can talk about being separate from the stars all they want, but when you get down to the bottom line, we were birthed from the stars, from the cosmos.
Right. So once again, you know, those books are just templates, right? They're
Yes.
a template for a bigger alchemy process. So
Yeah.
it doesn't matter what Bible or what scripture it is. It's all a template for internal alchemy.
Right.
If we can look at it from a backed up place, when we're not so emotional, we're not so into it, right?
Right. A sidereal point of view.
Yeah. And if you want to, as you talk about, you know, God making us, you know, when we start talking Eastern philosophy, what part of this is actually human? Am I made up of human parts?
Technically, if something was made up of human parts, that meant that a bunch of humans had to be disassembled and then reassembled in some kind of catastrophic horror movie that I can't even imagine. So
fair.
technically, no, we're not made of human parts.
That's fair.
We're made of stardust. We're made of earth. We're made of water, fire. There's another one. I know. There's 4 of them, right?
Yes.
Help me out, guys. What's the 4th one here?
Earth, fire, air, and water.
Well, yes. Yeah, air.
Yeah.
A lot of air.
Yeah.
I tend to get a lot of air right around this area.
Right. And depending on your belief system, you can even go to 5 or even 6, right? Because in alchemy, in my understanding, we go up to 6 because you have the 4 elements. You have spirit, which is 5, and the 6th one being,
I want to say plasma, but that's
metal.
way too literal.
Very close, metal, because it's alchemy.
Okay.
It's alchemy, right?
Alchemy has the transmutation of metals, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So you know, depending on but even that, as you go through that, there's no human in that. It's material, right?
Right.
So God didn't birth us. This earth birthed us, and for me, that's why it's so important to help people get back to earth. I do a lot of things in the primal world and just being with earth because we're so disconnected.
Yeah.
We think we're something.
Right.
We're not anything.
An island or something.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, we're, you know, at best, the universe sticking its hand out of the ground going, beep, right?
Yes. Right.
At best.
So people, if you assume you're an island, well, take the island for a perfect metaphor because you dig a little bit deeper and you're going to find out that island is actually connected to the rest of the earth, just beneath the surface.
Yes.
You know.
Yes.
It seems like every metaphor isn't a metaphor, that there's a literal aspect of these philosophies, and the meshing between allegory and literal for me lately has become almost like there's not poles to it or a gray area. They're just the same. And that's difficult to consciously comprehend. It's almost like it's something I know and like subconsciously, but I can't process enough to bring it up. And I guess that would be the stage of enlightenment right there, whenever you consciously realize what your subconscious already knows.
Yes. As you come into that process. Yes. And I love that you brought up the parables and allegory, because I think we'd actually talked about this before too. You know, all scripture, as you read it, they all have instructions in the beginning, right? And all of them say things to.
Is the light messed up?
All of them say things to the.
Oh, cool. All right, thanks, dude. All right. Sorry about that.
No, that's okay. To the realm that, you know, it's under. In the realm that it's all allegory and parables, right?
Right.
So when we really take that in, what does that mean? So I always like to use. I just blanked out the mountain, but the picture of Jesus on the 3 crosses, right? So we have Christ in the middle, we have the thief to the right and the thief to the left, right? So when we think about it, what that means, when we're pulling that in as an allegory, right, or a parable. So as a parable, we can look at it from the biggest picture, right? Like what's going on, we can step back and just see all the parts, right? But when we start to really talk about an allegory, that's about being Christ on the cross. What would that be like? Like literally stepping into the essence of Christ, looking down at these people, some of which are in mourning, some of which are excited.
Right.
You know, I mean, and that's the important thing too. Being able to be human enough to step into the one who's enjoying him be on the cross.
Oh my God.
Right? Step into the one who's really upset about being him on the cross, right?
Easier.
Right. It's much easier, right? Now let's think about the one who actually put him on the cross,
Oh.
right? Actually stepping into it though, not thinking about what they were thinking or judging them. That's not what it's about. It's about actually stepping into their place and saying, if I was standing here and and God gave me this phone call and I picked up that receiver, right? What pieces of me are in that? Because even if you might not be the one in your mind who would go up and I would never do that. Well, you know, yeah.
Well, you kind of did.
Even yes, and if it's
That's
happened,
a mental
it's a piece
exercise
of
of
you.
all mental exercises,
yes.
because I mean I've kind of heard a similar practice about imagining yourself as Hitler and being capable of doing morally what he has done. And what you just said is literally quite a step further than that, because I mean I don't know if it's because it's more recent, but you could almost get yourself to wrap your mind around that fanatic, meth-induced frenzy that is that psychopath, just by seeing what the power does to people.
Yes.
But with the whoever put Christ up there to die is like an entire another level of insidiousness, because I mean, that's the Son of God, according to most people, I think,
Right.
And he was literally turned the other cheek.
Yeah.
So he was the most non-violent person, unless people were, gambling in a church, but he was the most non-violent person possible. So this is a man who admittedly is extremely dangerous, but chooses to keep his sword sheathed because that's not what he's here for. And then they use the sword on him. They put him up on the cross. And then with thieves, which is, I mean, insult to injury,
Well, that's an interesting part of it too, right?
Yeah.
I do want to hit on the executioner thing real quick. So it's easy to judge that executioner, right? And to just be like,
Sure.
No. That's why we pull it in as that out, as that a piece of me, because in the reality, if I'm really going to take the time and take the energy and the love and the compassion to put myself in that space.
Yeah.
What are the realities of that? Not what I emotionally feel right now. Let me step back, right? The reality is that's his job. And if he doesn't do it, guess what happens to him?
He gets it.
He gets killed, right?
Right. Yikes.
Yeah, right. So let's really step back and think, what does it mean to be an executioner? It's a job.
Right.
And that.
And there's millions of them.
Millions of them. There's murderers all around us.
Right.
But we don't sit around and
legal.
judge them,
They're
right?
allowed to.
Yes.
They have a certificate. Somebody of authority said, you get to kill people. No one else does, but you get to.
Yes.
And then they do it. They get paid.
Yes.
What a mind that is.
Yes.
Because, you can put yourself in their shoes as well, because you would ruminate about justice.
Yes.
And you'd be like, Batman doesn't even kill people. Like, it's
did I do the right thing? Am I going to have repercussions? Is my family going to have repercussions?
Am I going to have repercussions upstairs? That would be a difficult thing.
Yeah.
Hope they get paid well. I mean, really.
I want to hit more on the thieves though too, because I love. One reason I use the image is because it reminds me of the tree of life, and it reminds me of Buddhism, finding the middle path, right?
Yes.
So when we look to the right, there's a thief who's looking up towards God, right? And it's like
repents.
Yeah, repents, right? And the one to the left is looking down in the way, right? So if we start to kind of like step back again, right? And we start to see it more like the tree of life or the Buddhist path, right? There's a left path, there's a right path, and there's a middle path.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And all of those paths, if if utilized in proper ways, can come together to find that middle path, right? Because we had this conversation a couple of days ago too. You know, on the right hand side, you know, people talk about Satan, but it's just material.
Right.
So when we talk about the right hand path, it's about being attached. You can be successful, but not be attached to success, right?
Right.
You can have money without being attached to it. It's about, you know, I've worked really, you know, we've done the things and we have this, but if it goes away tomorrow, guess what? I'm going to polish the shit out of that gym, put it in my heart, and keep it popping, right? I'm not going to sulk over it. I'm not going to be poor me.
Maybe for an hour.
Well, you know, I say give yourself a day, right? Like life's hard. Give yourself a day, but you cry it out. Like eat a gallon of ice cream. Do what you got to do. But in the 24 hours later, get it up and get it popping.
Right.
You know?
And that middle path, I think, is absolutely critical and such a good parable, because I see people who step into a spiritual life and they think that the right path is I'm going to go all the way to the right because that's the most spiritual, or the left, whichever it is. And well, what you just did is you took your feet off the earth and now you're dangling out in the ether here with no way to take care of yourself, because to take care of your family, you're going to have 1 foot on earth, 1 foot in the grave to be able to, first of all, make a living, but to even be able to relate and speak with people who might need it, you're going to have to be on earth in the physical. So you have to have a foot in each door. But then again, if you're all the way to the other side, I guess, right, as you would put it, then you are all the way material. And at that point, what's the point of anything?
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And I struggle with those people. Not that I struggle with them. I'm not arguing with anybody, but whenever I watch and I see people, atheism was huge when I was a kid. In high school, you know, especially just getting into heavy metal and stuff, which I know you're a fan of heavy metal as well. It's a great catharsis, by the way. But when you're young, metal sometimes gets confused and leads into atheism, which is ironic because Dimmu Borgir, Cradle of Filth, these are not atheists, you know. But atheism is confusing to me because how?
Okay, so this is really cool, and I'm actually I wish I would have wrote down the guy's name because it was a brilliant set. He is a comedian, and he actually talks about this. He's Christian himself, and a lot of because of his popularity, atheists often try to do their thing, right? And he very eloquently pointed out the commonalities between my God. So what is atheism to you? Nothingness, right? Nothing. You came from nothing. You return to nothing. You can't see it. You can't explain it.
Right.
What is God?
I suppose God would be, if it would also be nothing.
Yes. I can't see it. I can't explain it. I can't
touch it. I can't.
Yes. When we really step back from the emotions of religion, right? And we really look at all of it, it all goes to source, whether that source is a light or darkness, it's a source.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how you define it, it's source. It came from source, it'll go back to source, and in between, we do a thing, right?
Okay. Hold up. Pete Holmes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So if I might try to, so he goes, oh, so the Big Bang, right?
Yeah.
Everything came from nothing. He's like, what happens when you die? Oh, nothing. He's like, oh, you mean you merge with your creator?
Yes.
That's heaven, bitch.
Yes. We're going to put that link for everyone because it's an amazing set and it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense.
He is a brilliant comedian. The first bit I ever saw from him was the whole that doesn't make any fucking sense bit. Did you see that one?
No.
He was like, the molecules and atoms in my hand are spaced apart further than the stars in the sky. Yet my hand won't go through this table. He's like, that doesn't make any fucking sense. Right. And then he went on to list several different examples. And then finally he got to the Bible, where people say that doesn't make any fucking sense. And then he looped it back. He was like, you know what else doesn't make any fucking sense? And that was the whole bit. Yeah. Absolutely brilliant. And what a big smile too.
He's brilliant. Yeah. He's absolutely brilliant. Yeah, I enjoy watching his work.
He did like a little thing with Ram Dass before Ram Dass died. He was like did a convention where he'd speak and stuff. Ram Dass by that time was already in a wheelchair and everything. But it's awesome to see comedians and spiritual gurus, leaders, whatever, merge together, because they're not opposites.
No.
At all.
No.
It's very close. To make light, technically, what is a comedian? No comedians are talking about dandelions and rainbows and sunshine. No, they take darkness and they make people laugh.
Yeah. They take the gems and polish them.
Right. Mm-hmm. And that's emotional alchemy.
Yes.
Right there.
It is.
So a comedian is an alchemist.
Yes, they are.
Some of them a little bit more direct, like Pete Holmes, but even the most filthy comedians are just alchemists of unfortunate situations, you know, and that's a talent, you know.
And it's because those people have a choice.
Yes.
Right? That's the beauty of that alchemizing process. You have a choice in it. So when you see people going through it, and you've already been to a place where you're either going through it or you've been to those places, you can see it in people. So as you go through your spiritual evolution, you can start to be like, oh, I'm seeing the consistencies here, right? So now I can pick my tribe even a little better, not out of judgment, but out of discernment, right?
Oh, that's important.
Mm-hmm. Because we never want to judge. People are where they're at, and that's okay. Right?
Yeah.
It just is. And to be able, one of my favorite things to do is like when I meet new people, I do a prayer every single time. Normally my only prayers are thank you, thank you, thank you.
Sure.
And as you were talking kind of earlier, is, please allow me to be a voice of healing words to myself and others, but also have unveiled to me anything that is going to be of service and my highest potential forward, right? Because those things are important.
One of the first things you told me was to show up for myself. Because, not necessarily talking about myself, but there are people in the world who others do not show up for them. Yes. And they want to blame the others. Well, maybe God's trying to give you the strength necessary to show up for yourself. Yeah. And that's probably the most difficult and easiest thing simultaneously is to show up for yourself, because to be at ease in an uncomfortable situation seems impossible. But as you have illustrated, well, you just showed up for yourself.
Yes.
There you are.
There you are.
And I think that's neat how it is what it is. And for you guys listening, whenever you first got here, and we went for a drive and everything, and the first thing we talked about was Jonathan Davis of Cori and how he got through some of the most darkest shit that a person can go through. And we listened to John Davis's new album, which is just really the embodiment of him showing up for himself. Because as he says in the song, he's like, it is what it is. If I'm a this or a son of a bitch or a terrified kid, well, that's what it is. And then my favorite line, he says, don't run from where you come from, because it is what it is. That's what really, and myself included, everyone's really kind of doing, is running from where they came from. They disconnect.
Yes, and the escapism, right? So for me, an important question for that would be, what does not running away from what does showing up for myself look like, right? And once again, releasing that messenger, right?
Yes.
So if someone is presenting, it's creating engagement in me.
Yes.
So if this person isn't, okay, so the messenger comes, and this is a messenger that I really, really care about. And I have an expectation of, let's say, like physical closeness. Okay. And whenever I'm present with them, I'm just not getting that feedback that I'm craving, right? I'm just craving it. Right. And as I don't get it and I don't speak effective communication, it just grows. Right. Yeah. And then, sorry, my brain kind of farted out on me.
It's all good. Whenever you talk fast, this is me too.
It kind of goes to spirit, and then I click in because I realize there's a human thing going on, and I'm like, oh shit, wait, where are we at again?
Oh, that's awesome. Well, we've got a dozen ways to derail here if you need. But
actually, so we were talking about the metaphysical counseling. So I really want to hit on this because this is the work, right? This is the structure of the work. So we're going to hit this a couple different ways. I really want to, if it's okay with,
coming out, guys.
If it's okay with Joey, I'd like to do just a really quick reading because I want to kind of offer the technique
Let's go.
that I kind of bring things and why it's just a little bit different.
The lighting okay? All good?
Yes, perfect. So we're going to start.
Well, now I'm nervous here. Everything looking good?
Get a little brighter.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
All right, so Joey, stick with me here.
okay.
So have you ever had a tarot reading before, dear?
I have, but none of them have been right in front of me.
Okay, wonderful. So my name's Cori, and I'll be your facilitator today.
Okay.
I don't consider myself a psychic nor a fortune teller, and I will not manifest your life.
Thank
What
God.
I will do is work with your energy and see if we can get you popping with a little more grace and ease. How does that feel?
Beautiful.
Okay, wonderful. So what I'm going to have you do, they've already been cleared. I'd like you to take them in your hands.
Okay.
If you have a question, I'd like you to ask it directly to the cards. Please do not say it out loud to me. If you don't have a question, that's okay too. They have a way of telling us what we need to know.
I see.
Give it some energy, and when you get done, sit it down and say done, and we'll get started.
Done. Set them down.
Mm-hmm. And your name out loud.
Joseph Wayne Phipps. Now, I don't want to hear nothing about the middle name, guys. You knock it off.
Okay, so this is the Hermetica deck, by the way. So it has both the traditional reading and then the Hermetic reading. So I generally, we've been programmed to, or
Can I show
together
these?
we have, yes, done the Hermetic. So that's what we're going to read from today.
These are really beautiful cards. And I love the Hermetic artwork because it reminds me of a lot of alchemical plates.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is cool.
So as we go into this, so as you see, one thing I always like to point out to people when everything is below, so we have above and below, I don't call it above and below. When everything is below like this, what that can be an indicator of is needing to flip our perspective.
Okay.
So maybe not seeing it exactly as it is, like flip it, like make it pretty, like maybe it might be, it's not as,
We're already starting to dig into my question that I had.
yes or no, just ask yes or no answers until I ask, okay?
Yeah.
Moving on.
Very powerful.
No, that's okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, flipping the perspective, being able to see things clearly, right vision. So as we go into this, though, it's a really great spread. So we have the voice of the divine. This is really wonderful. It's also known as the Lover's card. So when we talk about this, we talk a lot of, sometimes it can go into relationships, but for me, for this energy, it's about using that golden note, right? The way our divine voice comes out, and how, and the process of integrating ourselves to be able to facilitate that. So sometimes we can get stuck at that spiritual, or we can get stuck at those lowers, right?
Absolutely.
So it's really important, if I realize I'm living up here a lot, to start really getting down to those lower aspects of myself, right? If I realize I'm more in the material, once again, we're hitting right, left, and then the center, right?
Yes.
Because the tree works the same way the chakras do and everything else. So it's about bringing that integration to find that divine voice. As we go through here, it comes to the echoing hills. This card is really interesting in this because this card generally will indicate that there is a tendency for us to put ourselves in situations where we're hearing the feedback we want to hear.
Yes.
So, this is about stepping out of that comfort zone, maybe trying something different with people that aren't, there's no acknowledgement there, right? That way, because we get more honest feedback sometimes when we do those things, right? And it doesn't have to be over prolonged periods of time.
Right.
Just take a day or two and go out and do something, right?
Right.
Just step out of the echo chamber.
Right.
Echo chambers are good. They're supportive, right? There's nothing negative about it, but
You got to shake it up.
it's important
The
to do
feedback
that.
can't always be good.
Mm-hmm, right.
Float away.
And then the Lord of the Root of Powers of Earth. So this one's a powerful card. It's also the Ace of Pentacles, which is a great card anyways. But for this reading here, reading it at the bottom, the power of Earth. So this is about grounding.
Okay.
It's about putting your, not you already have a stable home and all those things. That's not the grounding I'm talking about. I'm talking about really envisioning those roots that go from your feet into Mother Earth, and knowing this.
Right.
When material is Earth, it's
Right.
Mother Earth. It's not this stuff.
It reminds me of the Buddha sitting with he's got like two fingers just touching the earth as if to say, I am right here.
Yes, we do that during meditation often. We'll put a hand up here and a hand down to stay connected, right? Because that's very important, because once again, especially like with the work you do, right? Because you're so much in the esoteric, you're so much up here, it can be very easy to just float away.
Right.
And you know, it's so important, especially with the dynamics of this card, to come back to that divine voice, which, as we talked about earlier, is simply just sitting there in the heart for your utilization. Breathe into it.
Yeah.
The more you breathe into your heart, the more it'll activate. That's it. You don't have to take pills. You don't have to do all these things. Just start breathing into that heart, activating that heart as often as you think about it, right?
Right.
And like I often offer people, you know, I call it the hamster wheel. So when my hamster wheel gets going, I've got 6 in there, and the 7th one is hanging on for dear life, right? I just come to awareness. I don't judge it. I don't try to analyze it. I come to awareness. I come to my heart. I take a breath.
Yeah.
Okay, what am I feeling? Where's my head at? What do my hands need to do? Rinse, repeat, right? Rinse, repeat. That way it keeps me stable, because if you let me go, I will be all up in here. I'm an up here kind of person. I function better there.
Can I tell them real quick what you told me about this?
Please.
So it was whenever I was by the way, I told her just everything about me. You guys, I don't have much secrets from you guys either, but she gave me a little tip besides the deep breath, which is to put a hand on the back and a hand on the front, and just alternate your attention between the two hands, literally in your head, like left, right. And that really takes it, whatever hamster wheel is going on, all of a sudden all the hamsters are like, what the fuck is he doing?
Yes. They're
and
confused.
They stop.
Yes. And that's a very powerful point too.
Yeah.
Metaphysical counseling is about just changing the pattern a little bit. It's just doing something a little bit different that makes the interior go, wait a minute. Right? And because once your interior goes, wait a minute, a new neural pathway is formed.
Right. And this is kind of like the ice bath, where you jump in and your body is like, I can't survive this for a very long time. So it starts sending survival mechanisms into your bloodstream. And then you feel great.
Yes.
Because why do you feel great? Well, you just did something that was really uncomfortable, but you broke the chain. Their dominoes are falling.
Yes.
You just went in, you took one domino out, and now it's not a catastrophe, you know? Yeah. Well, actually, that would be opposite, because if somebody did do that on a domino thing, that person would be pissed. But
yeah,
see what I mean?
So, you know, and the big point of doing this was not to out Joey or anything, but it was to kind of just give an understanding of how metaphysical counseling looks a little different. Because people think just because I have tarot cards, it's going to be a reading like they've got before.
Right.
And that's just not, that's not my truth, right? So it's important to me to my biggest part of metaphysical counseling is to invite people and guide them on their path to using this material in a realistic way. Right? Applicable to your life right now, right here, today. Right? That's the most important part to me. So, you know, and then I would ask, I didn't actually finish the reading, but that's okay. That's okay. So did it answer you can just say yes or no, you don't have to confirm. Did you get your answer?
It started answering at the moment that you went into flipping the perspective, because am I allowed to say what
you can
my
speak
question
freely
was?
to
So my questions to the deck was basically, how do I find Wu Wei, effortless living, which is something that I've always struggled with, and I have moments of it, what you would call maybe being in the zone, you know. But what my problem is that I decide I'm going to do something. And when I decide that that's the thing that's going to be done, my brain immediately goes, okay, you have to do that as good as you possibly can. And it has to be better than the last thing you did. It has to be. So what's the answer to get it like that? You have to suffer and put yourself through pain by all this maximum effort. Don't go backwards. Don't go backwards. And then what am I doing? I'm fucking myself. Because the more I'm becoming a tryhard, you know, by sweating the small stuff, I'm getting aggravated, and that energy is going into the thing, right? Whereas if I flip that perspective literally on its head, completely upside down, and think to myself, let the creative energy fall out of me, therefore I don't have to necessarily do anything. The creative energy, which I'm fairly certain is not coming from me, I'm a conduit, I'm a tool being used for, if that's like 21 Pilots talks about, he's like, I don't write the songs, I don't know who does, but I'm here for it. It's, you know, and I'm like, that is perfect. So whether it's a collective consciousness or it's God or any combination of things, because we can define it all we want, but all we're doing is running in circles, right? So that part doesn't matter. But if you let yourself be a conduit for it, everything all of a sudden is easy.
Yes.
That's my problem, is I can know that, but as soon as I go into the work, I'm white knuckles, and I'm chomping at the bit, because it has to be the very best way it can be.
And see, as a metaphysician, just sitting back, listening to your story, you've already decided what your program is. You're not even giving yourself space. You said, this is who I am. This is how it works. This is how it's done every time.
Right.
And you repeated that at least twice while sitting here with me, right?
Right.
So if that's, no, it's okay, because it's an awareness moment, right? It's, I'm a guide. That's what we do, right? It's not a judgment.
Right.
That happened. Those are facts that happened. So how do I go about speaking in a more effective way to create the change that I claim I want?
The internal dialogue needs to be turned on its head. And, I'm really hard on myself. So my internal dialogue is, it's not kind. I wouldn't say it's heinous, but it's a teetering on the brink of that.
Right. So my offering to people because it's very common, so don't ever feel bad about it, because it's very common. But what I do offer to people, because most people that sit across from me are what I call squishies. They're very squishy-hearted, but they've created guards and barriers almost like a scorpion, because their life has been so hard that they're protecting themselves.
Exoskeleton.
Yeah. Like an exoskeleton.
Okay.
So what I offer to them is, when we find ourselves in that kind of placement of like, I'm not sure what to do, right? I'm not sure how to turn this on my head. We're going to just kind of take it from, I keep losing my words here. I don't know why.
We can edit. It's all snippable.
Why is it all snippable? What were you just talking about? It was important.
Well, I am awfully hard on myself in my internal dialogue.
Oh, okay. Yes. So whenever we talk about that, we're gonna step back, and we're gonna say, okay, for one thing, you're programming yourself again, right? I'm very hard on myself, right?
Oops.
So just being mindful. It's not an oops moment.
Are
It's
you
just an aha. It's just an aha moment. It's just an aha. Don't cut me off again, because it's going to take 20 more minutes. Do it. That's my human for all of you.
Sure.
But what we're going to do is we're basically going to take it kind of like we do the hamster wheel. We're going to take that as a moment of awareness.
Yeah.
Oh, I've just said this thing to myself.
Yes.
Would I say that to someone who came to me and just said, or that just happened to them, whatever that was, right? And if the answer to that is no, right, then it becomes, okay, well then how would I speak to them? What would I say if a friend came to me and said what I just experienced to them? And then we literally go inside and we start having that counseling session on the inside. Right. So maybe, that was really stupid. And then this one's, will over time, right? Because it takes practice, and you're gonna botch it a few times, and that's okay, because that's how we learn how to effectively communicate. We just start using our words. We surround ourselves with people who are in an emotional place to be able to handle that, and to see that we're trying, right? And to be able to navigate us through it, right? So we go inside, we do that counseling process, and we say, okay, well, maybe we can find a nicer way to say that, right? Even something like that can start to build that neural network, to kind of just expand what the brain is expecting us to do, because it's all cycles, life cycles, cycles, the feedback loops, the way we behave, the way we think, the way we speak, it's a loop. So if we can just a little bit on the loop, we can dramatically start to allow the energy to start just moving with a little more fluidity. And as that inner fluidity happens, guess what happens on the external?
It starts to soften.
Woo-ay, baby.
Yeah. Wow. And what's so ironic about that is, you're going to laugh at me, but my first thought about having my inner dialogue be kinder is that if I catch myself with mean inner dialogue, my thought's going to be like, there it is again with your damn mean dialogue. You're such an asshole. Oh, oops, that's another one. Why do you keep doing it?
Yes, that will generally happen to people for the first week. I get a lot of messages and calls, and they're like, no, I need actual words. Like, I can't do this. And I'm like, I'm going to give you some words, and then you're going to work on it for a couple more weeks. But I always give people a week, because I want you to hear. I want you to really experience that because most people haven't had that conversation like that with themselves.
Right.
So You're going to need to find effective words with yourself before you can find effective words with other people.
Wow.
So giving you time to find those effective words on the internal so you can express it externally. In that way, because the interesting thing about effective communication is when I know how to effectively communicate with myself, and therefore I can effectively communicate with you, it creates a space that feels so safe to me, that I can walk anywhere.
Yeah.
And I don't walk in fear. Right?
Right.
I can be present, and I can be with you, and I can be with a murderer, and I can see the God presence behind him and not be feared by the external, right? Because I'm walking from a place of purity and from peace.
Yeah.
And so I can extend that to you in every moment, right?
Wow.
And that's why it's important.
Yeah. And this is a judgment-free gift to be able to.
Judgment-free, yes.
That's difficult. I mean,
Yes.
not just for me, but I mean, I feel like sometimes people in general, and I'm not this included, tend to size up situations and people. Anytime you walk into a place, you're kind of looking at the exits, like what's what's the catastrophe that could happen? How would I defend myself?
And that's all programming, dear. And that's
Right.
what Eastern philosophy really helps us with, because it allows us, when we walk into that building, to not care what anyone else is doing.
Yeah.
I'm walking into a building.
Right.
I'm sitting down and having a drink. I'm
Right.
eating. We
Right.
take the light that we've used to examine the external world and we turn it inward and illuminate.
Yeah.
And through that illumination, we walk in a little more peace.
Right. And that's contagious.
It's contagious, yes.
And then other people are feeling it, and all of a sudden, there's no reason to have a defensive mindset,
Yes.
which itself probably is also contagious.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lot to work with in a really short period of
It's
time.
a lot to work with in a very short period of time. But that's the beauty of this, is once you have the information, once you have the seeds,
Yeah.
walk. When the seed comes back, it's probably because it's meant to come back. Just
Right.
choose it. Don't be too hard on yourselves.
Yeah.
Everybody's trying to get somewhere. You're
Right.
already there.
You're already there. That's like that. See, that's always been something that's clear to me psychologically, but I can't feel it. The fact that Buddha said, you're already a Buddha.
Yes.
And that's why the enlightened ones, the realized masters, are called realized masters.
Mm-hmm.
They're not gods.
No.
They're human beings.
Yes.
They have simply realized the God within. And everyone ever, there's no such thing as NPCs. I get sick of these conspiracy channels not sick of the channels. Like, it's, to be clear, not Tommy Truthful, I love you, buddy. But there's a conspiracy thing that some people are NPCs.
Mm-hmm.
And those, I get it. I understand why that would seem that way, because I understand.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just not turned on yet. They're in there. There's no such thing as the NPC. The soul is there, but the Buddha needs to wake up there.
And if we're going to really turn that to an Eastern philosophy concept, they are what they are. And me being the one who sees where they're at, it's now my responsibility to create a peaceful and pleasant environment for both of us.
For both of us.
For both of us.
And I think people forget that too.
Mm-hmm.
We're in the same room.
We're in the same room.
Yeah,
Yes.
same planet.
Yes.
Ain't no going
We're
anywhere.
all citizens here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This is one of those things where if we weren't on a podcast, I would just be like, okay, let's shut up for a second. I need
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. And we're about to hit you a little harder because you had brought up about this, and this is another reason that metaphysical counseling is so effective, is because, I kind of told you this piece of yourself, and you were very open about the tendencies that you have in your own dynamics, right? And this is how cool metaphysics is. So as we look through your chart, you're what we call a Sagicorn.
Sagicorn.
You're on the cusp of Sagicorn.
In high school, I was a Fagicorn. So pretty close.
Can I get through the talk?
Sorry,
You keep cutting me off. And the really cool thing about that is your chart innately has so many little quips of tension. And so as you become aware of those small tensions, you take from, oh my gosh, I have all these things to fix, to, oh, that applies here, right now. Oh, that applies to right here, right now. And that's all we focus. We just pick one and we focus on that right now. Or we can read the whole thing and we say, okay, divinity, give me a tangible answer for which one I'm supposed to do. And then we walk. And when we've received that tangible answer, we do it. Right? And it can be that easy, just organic.
Just
nice
a lot
and
of
gentle.
trust.
It takes a lot of trust.
Yeah.
And, you know, and another offering to that, I tell people, if you can't quite trust yourself yet, trust in God. Trust in your heart.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
Surrender.
Surrender. Just throw them arms out, that head back, and just give it.
Right.
Just give it.
Yeah.
You know, because the reality is, no matter how well any of us think we're doing, we're all struggling.
Right.
Surrender.
Yeah. Every single person. And I have to know that there is going to be a bad day coming.
Yes.
And that 100% is the reason why good days exist.
Yes.
And man, it's absolutely futile to try to keep it on the up all the time. Not to mention exhausting in a way.
Yeah.
If you try to make every day a good day and you're going to die on that hill, you're going to exhaust yourself, therefore causing your own bad day or week or month or.
Because it's all a matter of perception, right? Like this morning, myself and your roommate woke up. We walked out the same door, and one of our first comment was, "Oh, it's raining," and the other one's comment was, "Ooh, cleansing time." Right? That's a choice, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's a choice.
I understand.
And I got to smile at my day. I got to just enjoy what it was, not what I wanted it to be or what I expected it to be, but just what it was.
Right.
And because I can live in that more whimsical place of just letting things be, guess a big thing that I have very little of on most days.
What's that?
Stress.
Really?
I play far more than I work.
The first word that popped in my head was patience. What does that say about me? It's like you said the opposite of it, but no, that's perfect. And I love the rain thing because honestly, it's not just an analogy because we're just talking about seeds.
Yes.
And seeds, you're going to need darkness, you're going to need rain and everything. And it's kind of funny though, also that you said that because rain used to be a bummer, but now my YouTube numbers are real good when the rain comes.
Right.
So I've learned to embrace that. There's a silver lining there.
Right. And as a metaphysician, if we're going to take it even a little step further from Eastern philosophy to as a metaphysician, if I was to go outside into Mother Earth, the altar from which I was born. Yeah. And I cursed the skies for raining, for feeding our earth, for feeding the plants.
Ooh, selfishness.
Yeah. Doesn't feel good, does it? And guess what that's telling the universe about what I really feel about this altar, regardless of what I claim to do, right?
You're claiming, in that case, a person would be claiming that their preference is more important than the entire divine cycle of nature that keeps literally everything alive.
Right in front of our fevers.
Right. But no, not in front of my waffles.
Right.
Like, I'm trying to, it's me. Yeah. I'm trying to enjoy this day.
That one right there, right? Yeah. It's me, right?
Yeah. Well, to eat today?
We will after this, son. Why don't?
I'm just wondering if we are.
But, yeah.
Oh, we didn't.
I understand becoming derailed. I get it.
Yeah.
From time to time.
It's
What's
fine.
up, dude?
Hi, guys.
You could have chose a shirt, but
I love the consistency, though.
There's consistency.
There's consistency here. I can work with consistency for sure. So I'm not going to go. Because you're a Sagicorn, it's conflicting in the ways of so we have Jupiter, right? So the force of power and strength, and then Saturn, time and matter, which go together well. And also there's other dynamics of your chart that I'm not going to talk about on here. Oh, that's a heating I'd like to offer real quick. Please, everyone, be very careful about, I see a lot of birthdays with locations and times on the internet that people are just throwing out to people. Please be very mindful about who you give this information out to. Your birth chart is your blueprint to who you are. And if a skilled practitioner has that information, or someone who's maybe, in realms that are what they are, that information can be very devastating to the other person, right? Because now I know every way in which I can get to you.
Yes.
Like I have the I have every dagger I need.
That's
right?
the data.
It's the data, the information.
It's your
like we
social
talked about.
security number of the soul.
Yes, it's your cosmic social security number. So be very mindful about who you give this information to.
Guilty.
And more importantly, if you want to do it, just get online, put it into a calculator, and then use your chart to learn astrology. That's how I learned astrology. I got my chart, and I have a binder like this, and it's all me. Right. It's all my blueprint.
Right.
And it's all questions that I asked myself through the process. I literally went through each one and was like, yep, that's me. That's so me.
Right.
And this is how it's me. So in what ways can I work to move forward?
Right.
And it's really that easy. This is me. So I have to acknowledge it first, right?
Right.
No matter how bad it feels. And if it feels bad on the inside, it's probably because it's there. So
Sure.
it's best to just.
Would you say that that's a bit of a shortcut to get to know yourself? Because I mean, getting to know yourself is the foundation of any healing or enlightenment.
Yes.
And if you can get a shortcut in doing that,
Is that
then
your girlfriend?
that would be perfect, you know?
Yes. Yes.
I was astounded at my birth chart.
Yes.
When first of all, I gave my numbers to a stranger. That's how that.
Oh, good
came
for
to
you.
be.
Yes.
So
Love that for
I'm
you.
going to remember that now.
Yes.
Because
Please
that's,
remember that.
but it was a trustworthy person. It was Earth Alchemy LLC. She did my birth chart, and she sent me screenshots and told me all the things. I have never met this person. They live in Arkansas.
Yes.
And they told me things about me that I don't think that my brother could have known.
Right.
And I was, because I mean, it wasn't just a horoscope. It was, the birth chart is like down to the minute, the location, all this stuff, the place where the sun is and all that. And I will admit, I once upon a time found that to be woo-woo until I could not argue with it any further.
Right.
It came to a point to where arguing with it would have been absolutely not only futile, but ignorance.
Yes.
You know, and being willful ignorance is the most poisonous thing. And that's kind of where I was in my younger days when it comes to astrology and stuff. But once it was proven to me, I had to be like, okay, this is an entirely another avenue, you know, that to be explored, you know, and that avenue is the person's self and who they are, you know, as a person. And it helped me because I knew what I needed to keep reeled in, but more importantly, I knew which strengths needed to be exercised, you know.
Yes, things like that too, right? Where are my strengths? Where are the things that I can polish right now to move forward?
Right.
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 To know thyself, all the parts.
Right.
You know, as a metaphysician, nothing is good or bad. It just is. If it's there, it's there.
Yeah.
It's just a fact.
Right.
So let's handle it. Let's do what we need to do and get a solutions based forward. That's it.
What do you think of the concept of soul contracts in such a way that I think it's more of a Hindu thing, but there's this idea that we chose our parents, we chose our life in this, not that there's no free will, but we threw ourselves into a particular pond on purpose based on what our soul needed to grow. Does that, I mean, do you think I mean, that's metaphysical as it gets, I think.
Yes.
But it's also really far-fetched, right?
So I don't know if I necessarily, I guess it depends on what you mean by soul contract. I feel, I'm trying to choose my words wisely because I know there's a lot of people watching with a lot of different understandings. So I'm just trying to be very delicate in the approach of it.
Well,
go ahead. Sorry.
We can play devil's advocate here. Everyone here is very kind.
Okay.
You know.
So what I believe is you were your mother and father. You are your mother and father. They are you. Your grandparents. They are you. They're living through a different form in a different space and time, like in space-time awareness alongside you.
Yeah.
But also like filtered into you, kind of like a movie film does, right? Like there has to be connector pieces through it all. So it's just like that continuum. It's a continuum more than it is this starts it and that stops it. It's a continuum of life, right? I don't know if that answers your question.
No, it does
specifically, but also I do want to throw this out there because we talk. I've had my own things in life, right? And people ask me, how did you get where you're at from there? And even though I wouldn't necessarily say I'm a believer in the concept of soul contracts, what I was offered whenever that came to me was this understanding within myself that I had basically at some point in time within my own lineage made the choice that I'm willing to go through all these things if I get to keep that gem with me the whole time.
Yeah.
As long as I get to walk in that knowing.
Right.
So that part of it, I felt very soul contracty, like as an internal knowing of something. But I don't know if I necessarily believe in the soul contract processes as like Dolores Cannon been put out there. But
as
I do
literal concept.
as a literal concept.
But it's a great tool.
But it's a great tool, and that's the point. All these things are just tools. They're all just tools. Those books you read, all of these things are just tools. It's all meant to be taken in, just like the Bible, felt from each aspect. How does this feel in me, right? For right now in my life.
Right.
Because that's going to change as you evolve too, right? So what suited you even sometimes a week ago isn't going to suit you anymore. Because we can change just like that.
Yep. I think that's a huge concept right now. Alan Watts said you are under absolutely no obligation to be the person you were 5 minutes ago. And that is a way to change your perspective, if I have ever heard one right there. And the way you describe that, well, first of all, I want to say how refreshing it is that you don't full on buy into the soul contracts thing, because that tells me that you've got that discernment built in where you can accept something for what it's worth, entertain concepts that may or may not be true, but at the same time, you're not going to just like some spiritual people tend to do, just fucking buy it's the same kind of with, I'm a conspiracy theorist, but there's conspiracy theorists out there who just fucking, lay it on me, whatever it is, that's way up.
Yeah.
And so they have no discernment, and the way you described the reel of film, the grandmother, the grandfather, the dad, the mom, and then eventually it gets to you, reminds me that it's like a chain. The chain is connected at both ends because that's a seamless amount of links between the entire thing. If you were to take a chain literally and say, okay, describe that, eventually as it comes down that game of telephone amongst religious sects and cults and spiritualities, it might become a soul contract. It becomes illustrated that way to be better understood.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a wonderful way to put it. Yes.
But in the end, what was really happening is that we are just one with it.
Right here, right now.
Right.
Yeah.
It's hard to capture the one with everything idea with the psyche.
I have a friend, Delaware, who talks about this, and he steps away from that concept of all one.
Okay.
Because it's not necessarily one; it's all. It's just all.
See. Okay.
Right. So he takes the box off of it.
Okay. Whenever we're all one, it makes your brain put everything into a sphere.
Yes.
But then what's on the outside of that sphere?
Yes, exactly. And that's his. I feel that's. I've never directly asked that question, but I feel that's his point too. Is that when you put it all into the one, you now have created a whole nother space out here. That now, what are we going to do with that? So now we have that paradox, just that cyclical paradox.
But it's all.
It's just all. Yeah.
There's a line from a death metal band called Behemoth.
Okay.
And he says, it's an Egyptian song, like very starkly Egyptian. And he says, think of me not as one, think of me not as none, think of me not as all, I am continual. And you can barely understand what he's saying. But man.
Oh, that can be God bumps. That's good.
That's some like Egyptian pharaoh stuff right there.
Yes.
And how ironic that duality that it comes in a metal song like that.
Yes.
It's no wonder. But that's another example of how metal is not necessarily atheist as most people, tend to make it out to be.
Yeah, and you can pull a message from anything if you are willing to step back from your emotion and your identity and just hear it.
Would you recommend any exercises that would make a person step back from their emotions? Because I'm tangled in them bitches. So
engagement. We use engagement, whether it's the mind or the physical body, right? So if I'm engaged here, say you're saying something to me and I feel engagement in my stomach. Okay. Obviously, I need to come to the heart, right? Because I'm engaged, whether it's in the head or the physical body or this part of the body, right? Mm-hmm. We come to the heart and take a breath. Mm-hmm. And I ask, what do I need to do here?
Oh.
I ask up, what do I need to do here?
It's so easy to forget.
It's so
But you
easy to
can ask.
forget that
Ask
you
and
can
you shall
ask.
receive.
Ask and you shall
You
receive.
can't really get any clearer. But
Yes.
man, we
make it so hard. You don't need me to answer. Your higher self knows
Right.
every step you will ever and have ever taken throughout the eons.
It's already done.
It's already done. Just flap an ass, right?
Right.
And then we talked about the getting in our heads thing. One thing I want to bring up, I don't know how long we've been talking, but bringing up about words. One of the really cool things I like to do to help people kind of get a better idea of who they are in a very easy way is just to use your name. And what I do with that is I literally will take your name, Joseph, and I'll say the metaphysical meaning of Joseph.
Okay.
Nice and easy. Not spiritual, not any of the wild things. Metaphysical meaning of. I type that into Google.
Okay.
And then I put Joseph.
Okay.
So Joseph is actually Egyptian by nature.
What?
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
Hey.
Yay! But the name Joseph itself, it only deals with the highest perspective, but also in how to use it in a righteous way.
Okay.
So it's about kind of metaphysical counseling. It's about taking that higher perspective, all this kind of cosmology stuff we have going on, right? And being able to use it in a way that we can then offer it to the masses to where they can utilize it and we can all raise, because that is the bodhisattva way, right?
To
raise, yes. Yeah. If I get a sip of Coke, baby, you get one too, right? And just through that act of giving, that is God. That's love. We don't have everyone talks about love. Just do it, baby.
Right.
Just be that.
There's a lot of talk.
Because when you be that, you don't have to speak that, because people know, they can feel it in you, right? So just be that.
Yeah.
And then Wayne, or you already called yourself out, Wayne.
Right. Yeah.
Strength, resilience, determination, possessing a credible inner strength.
Okay, this is way cooler than Wayne's World, which is, I think, what I'm named after. So I can't prove that. But I like that one.
Yes. And Phipps?
Yes.
Okay. So it actually, on an etymology level, goes to philos.
Oh.
I know, which is really powerful, right? And it talks about a friend and lover of equine horses, which is funny because we just had the equine book we pulled. Yeah. So but what this kind of message tells us. So Joseph would be like the youth starter kit, right? So you came in here with this energy of basically being offered the nugget to be able to help other people understand higher concepts in a very rational way, which is what you do, ironically enough, isn't it?
Golly. And
then as we go into Wayne, you and I have already talked about these concepts of you. These are very much parts of you, right? So it's about really embracing these parts of you to come to your soul level, right? Which is your last name, which is your philos, which is that essence of the philosopher that lives here, right?
Right.
And what does that look like to you? What does he feel like to you? What message does he want to send, right? So even in a name like this, doing it so simply, you can start to be like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, and ask yourself the questions as you read. Ask yourself, what question do I need to get the best answer right now?
Right.
Ask God.
Well, right now, the best answer is the fact that Phipps turns out means a lot more than just a long line of alcoholics, because that's what I was given the impression of, and that chain came all the way to me, and I gotta work real hard to make it stop before it gets to that little guy right there. He's already got his shirt off. He's halfway there to being,
He hasn't had shoes on the whole time.
Right. So,
yeah.
Right. But that's a beautiful thing because, to me, it's always been that a name is a name. And it's a mouth noise that you get whenever you're born. But just like astronomy, it seems that there might be something more to it. And as I start to study hieroglyphics and cymatics and the Hebrew language, the mouth noises have a frequency. They have a snap to them. They've got a sound signature. Yeah, power. Mm-hmm. And the effects matter. Mm-hmm. And how could it not, considering that all things are sound? Yes. The om or the word,
Can I have the snake take a bath?
Yes, go ahead, buddy. Right. Thank you for asking. Yeah. So I've been wanting to do an episode on cymatics forever now, and I think a lot of people. But it's one of those things I don't want to jump right in until I get all of my nuggets pulled together.
It's one of those things that's really best to spend some time absorbing, processing, and experiencing before we bring it back out, because it's in the ways that we bring it to people that they're like, oh, right? It's not necessarily the knowledge when it comes to those specific things, but how did I get there, right? That way they can start asking themselves, well, what's a way I could.
How does this apply to me?
Yes, how does this apply to me?
This is with YouTube, the internet in general, I think differs from books. Is that a book is a conversation between you and that information that directly applies to your soul and your life. Whereas YouTube, I mean, I love YouTube, obviously, but the internet in general has a kind of a bad habit of just dropping all of the facts and saying that this is knowledge. Well, you forgot the wisdom.
Yes.
The part of it that is applicable to your particular life. And if you're not seeing that part of it, then everything's just empty about it. You know, that's like learning all the laws without knowing how to benefit from knowing those laws. You know, it's just a wad of information that you have weighing you down, you know?
And I love that you bring that up, because I've had people ask me before, well, how do I know if I'm doing that, right? How do I know if I'm just hoarding knowledge?
Okay.
And I say, do you ever tell people, I know, when they tell you something?
Okay.
That's how you know you're hoarding knowledge. Because if I have to tell you I know, it means I'm not actually living it. I have yet to apply it to where God's hands needs to tell me, be that reflection, right? That I'm now saying I know. So what I had to do, what I did for myself was anytime I'd hear myself say I know to somebody, I immediately went in. Okay. Yeah.
Right.
All right. How are we not applying? Because if I have to tell you I know, that means I'm not stepping in the path of which I'm saying that I'm aligning to, right?
That takes self-reflection to know that. And what I would like to parallel to that is I've heard people say it must be nice. That's a phrase that I hear all the time whenever somebody learns that a person has something great going on. Yeah. They'll say, oh, that must be nice. It's like nails on a chalkboard for me. Because what you have is a person who has been living in willful ignorance and survival mode and not necessarily taking any steps to get those things. See someone else who has, but they see that tip of the iceberg that is the product, that good luck they think it is, and they're not seeing the iceberg beneath the water of all that toil and hard work done, and they say, oh, that must be nice, as if someone just gave it to them, which that does happen.
Yeah.
But
and see, when I hear that story, what I hear that person saying is, I have yet to build an effective and healthy relationship with myself where I can see my own gifts and I can stand in that power. So because that relationship hasn't been developed here, I can't develop it out here yet. So even to me, I'm not going to condemn that person for saying or doing any of those things, because I see. Right. What I may do, however, is just ask them a simple question, right? Go in and go up. What's a question I could ask them to incite something
wallet.
New?
Oh, wait, that's a statement. Hold on.
May I have your wallet?
May I have your wallet? That's much better. Okay. Right.
Yeah.
Well, so what would the question be? Right.
I don't know. You're so breaking my attention from what I'm supposed to be doing.
I think I might be your shadow guru.
Yeah, I think you are. Yeah, you're definitely my guru in drag today.
Right. Guru and drag. That's right.
Guru and drag.
I got quite a few of those.
And it all is. That's an important part too, right? Everything, not just people, everything can be your guru. I can go sit outside and watch a piece of grass all day, and I can just be with it.
Yeah,
I can really be with it, not try to judge it or understand it. Just be with it.
Right.
And I can learn from that moment, from that presence with that piece of grass. Right.
Yeah. There's a Zen master who was new enough to the world and age that he telescopes and rocket ships. He's like, why do you guys need all this expensive stuff to study the cosmos when you could sit and watch water roll around a rock?
Yeah.
And that was confusing to me for a long time until I got that kind of idea of holographic nature of the universe, which is everything that is on that pebble with the water going around the pebble is a direct reflection of everything going on upstairs.
Yeah.
You know, and
in your body. Don't
and
forget your own
within
body.
you, right? It's all right there,
Mhm.
and it couldn't be any clearer. And it's kind of like who was it who said I want to quote Alan Watts on it. No, I'm drawing a blank. But yeah, the Zen masters just have a way of making it simple. And that's, I think, one of the only differences between Western philosophy and Eastern philosophy is that Western philosophy has a long, extensive way to bring this knowledge into a way that can be absorbed.
Mhm.
Whereas the Zen masters are just like, okay, this flax weighs 3 pounds, you know?
Yeah.
And it's almost like in reverse, the way that they work, you know, but it makes you question yourself. And even the Zen masters, they don't take anything too seriously.
No.
Did you ever hear about the Zen master who he was going to die, as they often knew their time of death, which is, and there's three people who were runners up to be the main dude. Have you heard this at all?
Mm-mm.
It was the cook, and he was like, go out and bring me something that captures the essence of Zen. This story varies from culture to culture, but one of them came back and he brought a lizard. And he's like, it flows. It's like water. It's like Zen. And the Zen master was like, it's too literal. And the other guy brought him a poem, and the Zen master was like, you're trying too hard. And he got to the cook. He's like, what did you bring? And the cook just farted. And the Zen master just smiled and quietly passed away.
Yeah.
And then that guy was the dude. He put no effort into it. It's spontaneous, of course. You can't really plan a fart.
But that is it.
And that was Zen, and that because he was in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't plan to bring anything. He didn't overthink anything.
No.
That was Wu Wei all the way right there. Just was.
And and the philosophy, yes. But when we start talking about like what you were talking about, especially when it comes to the children and the way the personalities are different, we have to be mindful. The systems are very different from here to there. And in Eastern, in that, they're not taught as predominantly as we are, especially as children, to judge themselves and to put themselves down. Mm-hmm. They're expected to do well, but they're not taught to put themselves down like we do. Like we're told, you're not doing good enough. You're not, it's almost, and
sink or swim mindset.
Yes, and in my understanding, they just don't. They do their best to mitigate those far more than we do. Yeah. And you have to understand, there's a lot of children who go into ashrams, monasteries, and things like that in the East. Yeah. So there's actually packs of children growing up in these very wu-wei mindsets because they are being developed to be the next the helpers of the bigger picture.
If there's any proof of wu-wei, it's that, because if you look at their crops, their rice fields, their temples, that took an extraordinary amount of work, but all of them are completely at ease. Yes. So they're able to do incredible things effortlessly and just let that flow through them.
Yeah, because when they go to the rice field, they don't think to themselves, oh, fuck, my back's going to hurt and I don't want to be out here and it's hot. They think, they don't even think at a certain point, right?
Yes.
They're just doing it, right? There's this beautiful thing. It's about the initiation into monkhood, and it says there's 3 of them. There's a student, and they're peeling potatoes, and he's peeling his potato, and he's like, I don't know, I'm here, it's hot in here. Like, why are these people breathing so hard? And then you have the initiate who's like, oh, all the hands that went into making the potato and where it came from, and the master's just peeling the fucking potato.
The master just
peels the potato.
Right.
He doesn't contemplate.
Meanwhile, the guy who's imagining all the hands that went into it, he feels like he gained enlightenment because he's inspired by all this good.
Right. The student is the right hand. The initiate is the left, and the master is the middle.
Oh, that
just came to me.
That's right.
I've been telling that story forever, and that just came to me, and it works. It totally works, 100% for sure.
That is awesome. Well, okay, so I think we've been on for about an hour now. There's no time restrictions, but it is a good time that I was reading your own material here,
Okay.
and I wanted to bring up a couple things that I underlined here because I find a lot of this to be fascinating. But okay, so right off the bat, you have to be careful. People in general have to be careful about a false sense of being healed. Oftentimes they will, what's the trap there?
Okay, so what he's actually reading from is my aftercare. I channeled an aftercare process because people can get kind of wonky after things, and people come to me a lot and they're like, I had a sound bath, or I did this, or I did that, and I don't know what's going on. So this was developed because of that process.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just pushing, allowing that out there.
Right.
Let me see that for a
Sure.
second. So the false sense of being healed. Okay, so basically what'll happen, especially if I'm someone who's in a lot of suffering, whether I'm aware that I'm in that suffering or not, because some people will be like, no, I'm fine,
Yes,
right? So it's more of a discernment, right?
Yeah.
So if someone who's in a space that's more suffering goes to someone who has an energy attunement, it doesn't have to be a special energy attunement or anything like that, because the person is in such a density that anything's going to help, really, right?
Yes.
So no matter who they go to, this is another thing about not letting the messenger, not letting it get contaminated because of these reasons. So they go to the practitioner, and the practitioner does what the practitioner does, and then they get up, they jump up, they say, oh my gosh, thank you. And the practitioner kind of engages with that and embeds it too. Oh, you're welcome, right?
Right.
And so now this person says, oh, so now I have verified to you that I am a healer,
right,
and I have touched you with healing hands, right? And so this person goes home, and they're like, yes, because you will have those endorphins, and you will have that sense of euphoria for a while, just because of the nature of what we do, right? So a lot of times what people will do is be like, good, tits, right? Unfortunately, did I just say that on camera?
No, that's you're speaking my language now. This is where I'm contagious. But no.
So it once again, it disempowers them in their own healing process, because all we do as energy workers, even with the extent of the talk with it, the only thing I'm doing is guiding you and helping you break up some of that density that you already have there. Because my words aren't going to do anything unless it hits you in a way and you can express it to yourself in a way that releases, right? So we move around the energy, and then the people go. And what this does is invite people to really self-reflect and realize, okay, what did I release today?
Right.
And like really think about the next 3 days. I always say the next 3 days that's where all the healing happens.
I see.
No matter how big of an experience you believe today to be,
right.
Which I feel any practitioner, if when given the things, it's always just a reflection, or I'm a conduit. Like we don't heal people, you heal yourself, right? But the next 3 days is always for me about ingestion. What am I eating? What are the people I'm spending my time with? What are the words I'm using? What are the stories I'm telling?
Right.
And really taking those next 3 days to just start making little tweaks. We don't have to do it forever. Like, there's no reason to be overwhelmed. Just the next 3 days after treatments.
Right.
Any type of treatment, right?
Well, and with that, this is less of a question, more of a statement, because I absolutely love this. What did you learn while on social media today?
Yeah, that gets to people.
So what this reminds me of is so many times I've heard people say, I quit Facebook, it's too much drama. Well, guess what, buddy? What Facebook is a reflection of what you've been doing on Facebook.
Yeah.
It's just giving you more of what you're clicking on and engaging in.
Yeah.
So for about those 3 days might be a good time to, if you flip open Facebook and you're displeased with what you are seeing, unfollow that, unfollow this, follow something else.
Yes.
And choose to be inspired with Facebook.
Or just take 3 days off Facebook and see how life feels.
Right. But never YouTube. Don't ever take time off YouTube. No. Right. No, that makes sense, because the social media will sneak up on you if you let it. If you engage with the wrong things, it becomes, So okay, we talked about internal monologue. isolation with the monks and everything, breathing. We actually covered quite a bit of this, breathing properly, showing up for yourself. See, we're good. We already nailed a lot of these already.
Yeah.
But I'm going to keep these papers if it's cool.
Yeah, they're yours, please.
Okay, so the last thing, because I love this very much. Meditate, set a timer 2 minutes once a day, and start to reconnect to your purest voice. And I love that because people think that meditation is 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be,
Mm-hmm.
sure. But 2 minutes, as I had said earlier, is 100% longer than 0 minutes.
Yeah.
And that 2 minutes right there is the same as what you told me about quit planning your breathing exercises and just stop right now.
Yeah.
And do that, because there's people who, and this is me too, I'm like, I need to get back to my meditation routine. And then I'm like, okay, so Wednesday.
Yes.
Well, no, you guys,
Yeah.
no, right when you have that thought, unless you're in traffic, sit on the floor and for 2 minutes,
Or just take the breath, or just
Mhm.
consciously come to the heart and take the breath.
Right. Which can be done in traffic.
Yes, it can be. It can be done anywhere.
Right.
Meditation. I call what I do Black Raven meditation, because people come in thinking that they're going to get just an hour meditation, or
Mhm.
they have this expectation. Oh no, dear! I'm going to teach you to meditate all day, every day, as often as you can.
Right.
Because that's
Walking
how
meditation.
that's how I've developed to live. And let me tell you, this is a much peacefuler world.
Sure.
And since I have been on the other end of that spectrum, I know.
Right.
I know what that feels like. And I'm here to tell you, it doesn't have to be this hard. So just come here.
Right.
And it's going to take time, and it's going to take effort, and we're going to feel like we're failing. But the
Right.
reality is, with anything that we do in this life, if we walk forward with consistency and heart,
Mhm.
it will unfold in front of
Right.
us like a lotus.
Right. No mud, no lotus.
No mud,
And
no
you've
lotus.
had that foot in the mud before, and that's why you're able to know what both worlds are like,
Yeah.
which is important. And last thing I'll say about you and Black Raven meditation is that what has inspired me so much about being around you these last couple of days is that the wisdom that you have is not behind a fence of this kind of serious demeanor. You're not afraid to be silly.
Yeah.
You're goofy, and I'm very silly as well.
Mhm.
And that creates a great space for me to be vulnerable around you. Because if I can be silly and vulnerable because you are as well,
Yeah.
then I can actually assist myself in healing, knowing that there's not going to be any judgment.
Yeah.
There's not going to be any looking down upon,
Yeah.
because that's what I think a lot of people have trouble with whenever they want assistance, whether it be a guru, a spiritual teacher, or a therapist, or a doctor, is that they're afraid that they're going to be looked down upon.
Yeah.
And as Jung said, you have to put yourself in that person's shoes in order to, you ain't going to heal nobody. You have to be in their shoes, understand them. Then the moment that they realize that they are understood, they're on their way.
Yes.
And that's one of the most beautiful things I think about you and what you've done. And thank you for coming on. I appreciate you very much. Black Raven Meditation is on YouTube. Everybody check it out. But she also has links in the description. If anybody would like to reach out to her personally, please do so. All right. That was good. Thanks, guys.
Before you end it, the snake took a bath, by the way, and smells horrible. Ow.
The Shadow Guru, right?
That was so good.
It was
She
nice.
smelled better before the bath.
All right,
Now
okay.
she smells horrible for some reason.
Thanks, man.
Like, why? Smell the snake.